this is a scientific challenge, not a political issue. And I'm comfortable that the best scientific minds in the world right now in this particular area are focusing on it. I think it's a serious issue. I think it's an issue that we have to be diligent with. But on the other hand, when you look back in times past, whether it was the HIV in the early 90s, whether it was Ebola, SARS, you go right down the list. I think that with everything's being done right now that should be being done, and more importantly, I think that the public is conscious of what it can do. Pretty simple stuff. Wash your hands. Keep your hands away from your face. If you have a disinfectant, use it. This is all pretty simple stuff, and everybody's capable of doing it. I'm not suggesting that this is not a serious issue, but I'm saying to you that as far as I can see from the standpoint of the stock market, the reaction far, far surpasses the issue. And I guess Kevin Warsh was on Squawk Box this morning, and he said something, and I heartily concur with him. I wish the Fed had done other things in these previous 9 years to have more in their toolbox than they have right now. That said, I would rather own a high-quality company that yields 2.5%, 2.75% dividend than buying a long-term bond where I know I'm pretty much signing up for losses. So I think it's a time to be cool. I think it's a time to be rational, and I think it's certainly a time to make certain that our leaders, all sides, all parties, get off the issue of the politics and get on the issue of the science. And by the way, Carl, that includes, to me, the media as well. I think this hysteria is being fed in part by the media.
And that's, we do have you on TV right now, so you are a voice of reason, perhaps, on the media right now. And so I want to ask you, along those lines, you've dedicated a significant amount of your time and financial resources to public health. The NYU Langone Medical Center has your name on it. Has this particular challenge exposed any issue with our health system's preparedness for this type of a virus? Or on the contrary, do you think the United States and our medical system is in a good position?
I think our medical industry is in top-flight shape. I've had the benefit of a memo from the dean last night, which went out to all of our trustees and all the people involved at the medical center. We've taken every imaginable precaution. We're dealing with it. We know how to deal with things like this. And I think we're no exception. I think if you go to all the great medical centers in the United States, and indeed around the world, they're not taking anything for granted. On the other hand, they're approaching it in a very rational, calm way, as you should. And so I'm very comfortable. I'm not going to change my life, or I would expect most people won't change their life. I had a chat with a vice dean for research at NYU the other day, and I talked to her, and she assures me that as of right now, she's not that concerned. We're taking the necessary steps, but you have to let it unfold. And as I said earlier, the fact that you've got the most competent and most able scientific minds around the world focus on this right now, I'm absolutely convinced that we'll look back at this in 2 or 3 or 4 months and say, my God, what a fabulous opportunity it would have been as an entry level to go into the stock market or to add to my positions.
Well, given that, Ken, what, if anything, do you think the Fed should do here? There are some calls we had on this morning on Squawk Box for some coordinated action among central banks. Is that necessary? If in 3 to 4 months we'll look back on this as perhaps an opportunity that some people had to buy stocks?
So what coordinated efforts can they have? Interest rates are so low now. As I said earlier, my hope would have been that they would have taken rates up over these previous 9 years to a level that effectively that's one more tool in their kit, because if the rates are higher, they can do a meaningful cut. But right now, look at where interest rates are. What else can the Fed do? I suppose they can do more QE and all that kind of stuff, but I think that's not the issue right now. The issue is not an availability of money or a shortage of money. There's plenty of money around. And all you're going to do if you lower rates, you're going to just make the argument for corporate dividends that more compelling.
That's for sure, Ken. I'd love to get your take. We're trying to get people not to overreact, and your point is so right. It's absolutely true. Are you thinking more about the consumer's behavior or companies' behavior? When you got Nestle and J.P. Morgan cutting international travel, Microsoft and Facebook canceling events, which is more important to pay attention to right now?
Well, I think the corporations taking those steps is sensible. We don't know how bad this is. We don't know how profound it is. We don't know how widespread it is. So I think what's being said is, if you don't have to make that trip, don't make it. But on the other hand, I don't detect any kind of panic. The airlines canceling flights, simple reason. When your load is down 75%, why lose money? Why? And more importantly, why provoke the possibility of bringing the disease back if you go over there? So right now what I see are all these precautionary steps, which I think are very temporary in nature, and I think they will prove on reflection to have been the right steps to take. In regard to the consumer, I think the consumer has to be careful in how they deal with themselves personally. As I said earlier, wash your hands, don't touch your hands to your face. If you're around somebody that's coughing and wheezing and sneezing, be careful. Don't put yourself in harm's way. But I think right now what I see more of a problem than anything else is this panic. And there is a panic going on. If you look at the market's down, 4,000 points in 3 days or 4 days? And that's hardly stability. But we'll get through this. We'll get through it fine. The important thing, I think, is let the scientists do their work. Let the government leaders do their work. I think, by the way, the president's early actions regarding blocking off people from coming from certain countries was brilliant, and it was courageous, and he did the right thing. I think, for example, this committee, this task force that's been appointed, have all the best minds in America involved in it, and I think it'll bear fruit. But I urge everybody, be calm, be cool, and be collected. Don't let your emotions run away with you. There's plenty of time to worry. Right now, let's try and do as much as we can to continue our normal lives. But my God, don't give up on America and don't give up on the world. It's not that time.